Liberation Unleashed.
Sorry, go on.
Through Liberation Unleashed, and like with the help from universe.
Yeah. So it seems to me, you've definitely had a shift, and it's great. It's fantastic. I mean, I can really feel what you say, but I can see there's still work to be done.
Oh, a lot, Vincent, a lot. Yes. I'm still working with, like Factor 4 or 5.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, reactivity.
Yeah.
Yes, there's still a lot of beliefs and a lot of,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, jump in.
What is it that makes a person qualified to be a guide? I heard you talking about confirmation at the beginning when I joined, and I assume that was about vetting somebody as a guide, but I don't really know. Is it somebody has to have completed all the fetters? Or
No, not at all. No, that's specifically with Liberation Unleashed and the guiding there. So Anna signed up to go to LU, but didn't actually get a guide. Is that right?
I got eventually Elad. He,
okay,
like
Elad,
after chatting to him, and he confirmed, like I actually had a shift.
Yes. So all right. So what happens is at some point in the guiding, when the seeker has had a shift to recognize that self is just an illusion, that there's no actual self there running the show. Once that happens, and that you call that the first fetter, there's a fairly stock set of questions that you ask them that are designed to basically examine several different aspects of an awakening experience, and of course it's totally inadequate, but it's the best we've got, and that then the guide will post that in the Guide Central Facebook group where other guides are, asking for confirmation or questions. So if somebody confirming reads those final questions, and then gets a feeling that yes, that person has had a shift, then they will confirm, and it takes 3 confirms and no further questions for that person to get to get a certificate, to get their name turned blue, I think it is, and yeah, I'm glad you can see the joke of that, Maria. That was good. So once and we kind of refer to that as, okay, they're through the gate, so to speak, the gateless gate. It's just a way of saying, yeah, the first fetter has fallen for them. That's another way of saying it. But with Liberation doesn't do fetters, so they don't actually talk in those terms. But at that point, they qualify to guide if they want to. Right. So we're not. You don't have to go to college or university or anything to learn about guiding. In fact, what we're doing here with the guiding group that happens before the one that we're into now, is we're doing a little bit of that. We're kind of sharing a bit of how what we see as important when we guide, and the techniques that might be useful and that kind of stuff. But before that, once I was confirmed at Liberation Unleashed, when I came, I'd already woken up outside of Liberation Unleashed. I came to Liberation Unleashed only a couple of weeks later. I discovered it, and I came because I was wanting to talk to other people about this stuff who knew about it. And I realized that I was also I had some doubt, and I was looking to confirm that what had happened to me was genuine kind of thing. And so once I got that confirmation, I started guiding straight away, and I didn't read any of the bits and pieces in the Guide Central files where all the other guides had written stuff about guiding. I just purely worked from intuition, and that was like 12 years ago. So yeah. So once you go through LU, you can guide, and if you I'd highly recommend it, Anna, as a way of cleaning yourself up as well. Do go in, and you don't have to start immediately, but go in and start confirming other people. That's a great way to start. Getting an idea of what, all of the different ways people will come at it, because it's absolutely unique to everybody, this experience. Yeah.
It definitely, that's very unique. So many people share their experiences and their past and how that is actually open. And it's just like there is no another is the same. Very, very different for everyone. And it's amazing. It's such a beautiful journey for everyone.
It is, yeah. Oh, it can be pretty frustrating for some at certain points, but yeah.
Oh, it certainly was here as well. A lot of frustration and, like devastation and crying and just like can't get it.
Mm. Yeah.
Like even after that, I didn't even realize, something actually shifted. I just like something weird happened.
Yeah.
And then August time, I was talking to someone on Facebook group, and you sure you didn't have the shift? So I don't know, apart from me, that's weird, that's shaking and whatever's that happened. Apart from that, nothing really, because in my head it was, like you fall into non-dual right away.
Yeah. Well, that's a big thing, of course, is that people have really strange expectations. Well, they're not strange expectations. It's easy to see how they get them because of the literature that we read. And and just like when I was listening to you, and I posted that bit on when you were talking about your waking up experience. I put that on my website, and I've already had people say, "Yeah, that was fantastic. We love Anna." But part of the literature is, I mean, it's just the media in general, but we do it ourselves. A lot of people write books, and of course, what they focus on is that waking up experience. So everybody who's reading it, all these seekers reading it, are reading about all these waking up experiences, and they jump to the conclusion that these people live in that state all the time. And of course, we know that that's not true. That's just the way the story seems to have unfolded for a lot of people. So most people will have expectations that are not aligned with what is actual at all. Yeah.
I also heard people talking about honeymoons, like stages when there is a peace and there is nothing. Never happened. I never had it. Like, there is all trigger incitation and all doubt. Everything was there. Like, that's why I never realized, there was actually any shift.
Mm. Yeah.
I just noticed something has changed, but I just, like that sense of presence, like just sense of beingness. But it was here also before, like it's always been here, and that's the case. I just like it was like more obvious, like you didn't need to tune into that, but it's here all the time. It's here all the time, and that's what changed. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
That's all. Basically, that's all. The rest stuff is still here.
Yep. Yeah. Good one. Yeah. It's good to see you back, Adrienne.
Hi.
I was worried we might have scared you off last time. Yes. Yvonne, how are you? Tell us a little bit
Hello.
about where you're up to on this journey.
That's not an easy question to answer. I have been, I suppose you could say, studying non-duality for about 40 years actually, and I had a teacher for 30 years teaching, teacher of non-duality, and he died about 10 years ago. And I've been through lots and lots of teachers, and then I found Angelo. I quite liked Angelo. I like the nuts and bolts that he gives me, of life, of non-duality. I'm doing some awakening curriculum with Pernilla. And I did, because of listening to Suzanne, I had this experience. I've had lots of experiences, but I don't quite know where I am. But after listening to Suzanne, suddenly the me just dropped out of me. And that was, I'll never be the same after that. And the me did come back, but it was the most devastating, heartbreaking experience ever. And I kind of, I went to go and watch television. Not that I do watch television, but I went to watch it because I thought, I've got to get normal again. This has gone too far. But what I did notice that it was empty, totally empty. But and I thought, my God, it's just empty. And then I discovered love was here. Love was here. So I thought, oh, thank God. And I also had the fetters, which I help as a kind of little map, that help, which obviously you probably burn and throw away afterwards. But the fetters helped a lot. It steadied me. And I just realized it was natural. I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that experience. And although the me came back, I'll never be the same again now because, well, that happened. And I guess I feel quite stuck right now because there's a lot happening in my life. I'm, a long story, but I won't go through it all. I'm living with my children, with one of my sons and his wife and my granddaughters and my sons. And it's just like, I said this to Pernilla, when Ramdas, I think it was Ramdas, said, if you want to think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your parents. Okay, they're not my parents, but they
are as well.
Yeah, so they kind of fix me, and so it's sometimes difficult to work, just let that be, and not react to it. But I don't want to be searching, but I guess I might be still.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I got a good idea from you that you tell me where you're at. I can see that. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You just need some cleaning up a bit. That's
Definitely.
just a few
Definitely
hanging up. Yeah. What about you, Maureen? Where are you up to? I'm cognizant we got a lot of people here today, and I really would like to get through everybody. And
Yeah.
Hi, are you talking to me?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Hi, it's nice to meet you in live. So I went through the gate with LU, and currently I'm going through the awakening curriculum, which I've just listened to the second fetter, the 5th video on toxic starts. And it's been really interesting. I just listened to it yesterday. So she's explaining the 3 different types. And so I'm listening to the first one and I'm like, no, definitely that's not me. And the second one, and no, that's not me. And I'm, expecting to hear something that resonates. She gets to the third one and it's like, well, this is definitely not me either. So the thing about the second one, the passive aggressive bully, that really got me was the sentence at the end about I matter. and that really hit something.
Yep.
So from that, I will go back, of course, and listen to that again.
Yeah.
But that specific one, but I started journaling and answering some of the questions that she asked. You know, what was the general mood of the childhood? Fear, guilt, anger, and shame. And so shame came up, which was really unexpected, because that's something that I've always felt, well, I don't know what that feels like. A friend would say that all the time about herself. And I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. So that's been really interesting, along with the I matter. So I'm sort of in a place of, okay, here's a question. Pernilla talks about you don't need to go back, because it isn't the only thing that's important is what is going on within me right now. So, like in some way there's, like, so, I mean, I needed to go back in order to look a little bit, in order to even get the label shame. So at this point, do I just not kind of pick at that, not kind of try to, well, what were the situations that evoked shame? There's very little that I remember of anything.
So this is partly what Pernilla's saying too. The mind will say, if I track this down, if I can reveal what actually happened in the beginning, I'll be free of it. That's mental bullshit. Right? But the mind, in the seductive nature of the mind, is its promise of satisfaction. Follow me down this rabbit hole and I'll promise you satisfaction. It very rarely delivers. And even if it does, it's momentary before it's on to the next thing, right? It's all a diversion. So without doubt, what happened originally is as alive today as it was on the day that you decided to stop acknowledging it. Right. So that may have gone on. There may have been some incident that you responded to. And I mean, it could be as simple as being spoken to sternly, you know, then this overwhelming feeling of shame about whatever you know, and so, and then a few hours, a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, or some time afterwards, it's kind of gets dropped because it's interfering with life, you know. So how we drop it, we suppress it, we deny it, that kind of thing goes on. But guess what? The body remembers it. The body, it gets integrated into the cellular structure of the body, and it stays there forever. And in that way, there is no time. Here's a really interesting thing. There is no time difference between when it happened and now. The relevant thing is now.
Okay.
The original is not in the past. It's kind of still now. It's still there. Yeah.
Right.
So what, I don't know if I can't speak for Pernilla really, but I do admire her, and she's really has incredible insight. But I imagine that what she's saying is what I believe what I believe is that it's the doing, it's the chasing it down, hunting for the original is a diversion. It's a way of escaping. It's a way of avoiding it. And you can use the meme that what you resist will persist, or what you push against will get stronger, right? And we want the opposite of that. So,
Right.
so by focusing on what is present now, that past stuff very likely will reveal itself, but it doesn't reveal itself because we've got it in a corner. It reveals itself because it feels safe to do it. So we've got to seduce it rather than hunt it down.
Seduce it by just allowing the feeling to be there.
And examining that feeling without opinion, without a judgment, without something that says, this is wrong, I want to get rid of it, or I'm not trying to fix it. That's again, society has you trying to fix things all the time. You're not trying to fix it, although you are, but that's a background thing, right? So there's again, if you focus on trying to fix it, you're chasing it, you're hunting it down.
Right.
What you're looking to do is recognize the impact that it's having now. What are the sensations?
Yeah.
If you can track those sensations down, guess what? The stories that are attached to the sensations start to fall off it. You start to recognize that, oh, okay, it's not the sensation that makes me want to do this. It's the story that I've got that says if I do this, the sensation will go away.
If I do this, sorry, what is it? It's not, you said it's the story that if I do this, it'll go away.
That's where the impulse for avoidance comes from. All right. It's so so how about this? Feelings are sensations plus stories. So if you were to examine a feeling, you start to realize that there are sensations and there are stories about it. You can see these stories, these repetitive stories, ideas that come up about what this is, right? So the first gateway into that story is a label, right? So you go, oh, I'm feeling depressed, as an example. There's a label. What does it mean? Well, it means 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. What does it mean to me? What is it? So, okay, it's a feeling. I've got this horrible feeling. No energy, heaviness, tiredness. Right? It's not pleasant. So I want to fix it. I want to escape it. The label is part of the escape, right? What it's doing is stopping you from investigating. So if we just lift the lid of the label, if we just lift it up and look underneath the label and we go, well, what is it? What do I mean by depression or sadness or whatever? What do we mean by that? Okay, I've got these feelings. What are the feelings? Let's look at what the feelings are. Oh, it's in my stomach. It's big, dark, shimmering kind of at the edges. Whatever.
Oh, so it's not like, because if when I tune in and describe a feeling, I like what you said. That really appeals to me to describe it in that way, but that's never occurred to me. It's like it's constricted, it feels heavy, those sorts of words, but that appeals to me to be more
Literal.
I don't know, to be imaginative in a sense. I mean, I'm expanding the possibilities of description by.
Yep. And here's an interesting one and a really valuable one for you, for me too, that is that, as you know, what I just tried to describe about that feeling that I brought on when but anyway, it was in my stomach there. And it was impossible for me to actually use any words to get a really accurate description over to you. You know, it was what I was experiencing was beneath words. Words were inadequate for the communication.
Right.
And it's that is the that is the direct experience. That is the actuality. It's beneath words. The world that exists in words, the one that we take as the normal world or the real world or the whatever, that relies on words for its existence. It's only at a word level. There's another world, a parallel world beneath all of that words just don't cut it at all.
Oh, that is so super helpful. I think what's happened when I've tuned in is because I'm using words, it doesn't go anywhere. Because it's not getting at. Oh, thank you very much.
Where are you up to, Debbie, on this journey?
And it's tough to get called on out of the blue. Okay, but we'll just roll with it, I guess. Just beginner strokes, just trying to like hear what Maureen's like, relating to about sensation. And, before I got on, I was just thinking like, instead of watching the movie that my husband's watching, maybe I should come here because they get into sensation and it's so hard for me to like do that. It's so anti what I do, like, the past, 55 years or so, so I don't know what I did below age 5, but so yeah.
That's it.
And it's nice to take a break from snow shoveling too, because we're getting whipped here in Massachusetts.
Okay. I can't imagine what that's like. Yeah. Okay, so have you been to LU? Have you been to Liberation Unleashed?
Yeah, so I did that thing and they said I went through the gate, but to me that's like, I feel like it's like all intellectual, like, you know what I mean? Like I can do those structured exercises. Do you know what I'm saying though? Honestly, like I'm not like a body, like, what do you, go ahead. I don't understand what you're laughing at. I have to know.
Sorry, we had a discussion before about this. Before this meeting, we had a meeting of guides or potential guides at LU.
Oh.
And we were talking about exactly that thing about people who think they've got it intellectually and all that. Yeah. So that's what I was laughing at. I wasn't laughing at you.
It's pretty timely.
You triggered it for me for sure. Yeah. That was good. No,
it's
that's
all
a
good.
big thing, I'm saying that's probably 30% of people, and you make the mistake of believing your thoughts here. You make the mistake of saying, well, therefore that must mean that I've only got it intellectually. No, you're experiencing the second fetter, which is doubt. First fetter's gone. Okay, you can never go back and believe in self again, can you? Surely.
I mean, not real. If I look for it, like those exercises, like, yeah, no, like it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, and I've always known, like, we're all connected, like, you know, the sun blows up, we all blow up. Like, it's just like this,
absolutely.
everything's connected, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. Yeah. So it's just, we're just talking about a cleanup here. We're not talking about sending you back to preschool. Yeah.
Okay.
But we've still got a few people here in preschool, so we work with them too, you know. Yeah, everybody's welcome. We love it. Yeah. And so you know, for you people who only just turned up here, let me just, you know, I'm going to be boss here and lay down a few rules, and that is that first rule is that there are no rules. Okay, I don't want you putting your hand up if you want to talk, because you'll get, you know, there'll be so many people wanting to say stuff that you won't get in anyway. So if you want to say something, you jump in. Nobody's going to take offense here, right? We don't play by normal social rules, right? There's no people here to be offended. Nobody's going to get defensive about anything. And if they do, great. You watch, everybody will jump on them and we'll work with that. You know, so by the time they're finished, they won't be feeling that way at all. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, and have fun. This has got to be fun. And it is, you know. I love it. Yeah.
Just before we move on, Vince, I'd like to just come back to Debbie. You were talking about the feelings, Debbie, and not being able to dive in. Was that what I heard?
Oh yeah, it's a fact. I just like, I was trying to like remember to do the see, hear, feel exercise, and it's like it's like the most attractive thing for me. Like when I do it, it's like, oh, that's cool. But like, why don't I do it more? I don't know. Like, I think it's habit energy. I don't know.
Uh-huh. And don't feel special about that. It's very common. This is one of the real defenses that we seem to put up. It's a default mode. So I'm just, as you said that, there's a couple of people here who could just help with that if you wanted to just look at ways of diving in.
I'm going to jump in here
I have
too.
to challenge myself.
A bit of a social game going on here. And look, Debbie, Alan's offering to help you get into that right now. So stop bullshit.
Okay.
Get into it. Are you open to that?
Yeah. No, I mean, otherwise, why play games, right? Yeah.
Great.
I'm here.
Excellent.
Terrific. Well, so just take this as far as you feel comfortable with, but it does require us just to be really honest with ourselves more than anybody else. So is there something in particular that's coming up for you right now, Debbie?
Right now, like abject fear, like, oh my God, what am I got myself into?
Okay, beautiful. So in the most basic terms, how would you describe that fear? Just stop and just feel into it.
So it's all in the gut. It's kind of like diaphragm down, and it's like zinging and like, ah.
Okay, beautiful. So just be with that. Just be the adventurous, curious explorer here, and just dive in. You've got a bit of a smile there as well as you do that. What's going on?
Well, just trying to pay to play, you know, that's all. Just trying to go for it.
Yeah.
You know, put on the parachute and jump, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. And just be gentle. Just be forensic about this as well. What is going on here? How would you describe it in the most basic terms? You said it was fear, but what is it? That's the label that gets us to the point of what's happening.
Oh, you know, faster breathing, jittery.
Just let that open right up. Let that have its way with you. And for everyone else on the call, just remember what Vince said about past events been stored in the body. There's no time here. This is where we feel the current experience of something that appears to have happened in the past. And we're decoupling the story from the sensation, just the raw sensation we want to experience. So what's going on, Debbie?
Sort of like rigidity or coldness in the legs.
So see how this is changing, and we just follow it. Rigidity, coldness in the leg.
Yeah, sort of like a frozen.
Beautiful. Okay, just be with that.
It was like a fight or flight response, like for sure. Like I just want to run, you know, like it's
Yeah, and just stay there. This is it. This is where we bounce off things. Fear of the unknown, perhaps, but no, it's right there. Drop right into it. And any question about telling us what's going on is just to help you go deeper.
I always know when I'm getting quieter because the tinnitus all of a sudden makes itself known. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, ringing in the ears. Okay, it must be getting quiet.
What about the freezing in the leg? Come back there. What's happening there?
It's there. It's there. Yeah, it's still there.
Still there. Is this something that's there all the time, or is it something that becomes, is this new for you?
It's new. It's new. I'm not sure if it's because I've been out shoveling a lot or what.
Okay, no, that can be a rationalization that it actually is a distraction.
Yeah.
So just feel the freezing.
Gotcha.
Just feel the freezing.
So I hear you say you want to run, but your legs are frozen, so you can't run. That right?
I can't run. Stuck in this kneeling chair. Yeah.
Is it both legs or just one leg?
It's both. Maybe left more than right, but it's both.
But it's both. Okay. Feel into that freezing. That frozenness. What's going on?
I don't know. I keep telling myself, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Just
That's
trying to
fine.
feel. Just trying.
Yeah, just trying to feel. That's it. Is it the top of the leg, the calf, or is it the whole leg? How
Yeah,
far
it's the whole leg. Yeah, whole leg.
And where does this start and end?
Yeah, from feet all the way up. It just kind of ends at the like at the root, like where I'm sitting now that I'm really trying to look at it. Yeah.
Okay. When you say it's where you're sitting, tell us about that.
Yeah, so that like now that I'm like looking, feels like the root chakra, like, you know what I mean? Not that I'm a real chakra person, but that's,
It's around there. Okay, that's a label again. That's a label, but that's helpful in terms of just helping us locate it, but just feel right in there. Just feel right in there. And while you're doing that, just notice the legs again. Are they still, is there still that frozenness in the legs?
Yeah, still very cold, tingly.
Is the tingling something new there? Is that just started to tingle?
Yeah, I think, yeah, maybe less rigid and more like a little zingy, like
Okay, let that unfold. Let that unfold. Let the tingling unfold. Just allow yourself to be taken right into it. Right into it. Yeah. Just drop it. What's happening?
oh, there are different sensations, you know, the urge to cry, sensations in my belly, sensations in my chest, and just trying to feel, put my hands there.
Beautiful.
I promised myself yesterday, promised the little girl that I would step up for her. I promised yesterday that I wouldn't abandon her. I promised. I'm telling I'm stepping up, telling her that.
Just
I don't
feel it.
know what's
Just-
wanted. Yeah, trying.
That little girl. How old's the little girl?
I don't know. I promise I would feel everything and be. I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave anymore. I wouldn't leave.
Just cradle her. Just be totally open to whatever is being felt. This is such beautiful openness to the truth. What's happening to the little girl?
I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm just like the little sensations of just trying to say you're valued, you're appreciated, I love you. I haven't been good at saying good things, you know. I've been very good at self-deprecation, so I'm trying to change.
Just let that beautiful heart totally break open and let that love that's there pour out. Just let it pour out, Debbie. So beautiful. Mm. Do you feel that there's anything trying to resist this? There's anything trying to stop it? Just feel that as well. Just let it go. Mm. That's it. Feel in the chest. Feel in the chest. Just let that warm embrace take you totally. Hmm. Just give us a little peek as to what's happening, Debbie.
The fear is gone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of calmness.
Mm-hmm. What about the frozenness in the legs?
More just like tingly, more.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
The coldness, tell us about the coldness.
Maybe there's some coolness in my calves and feet, but it doesn't feel frozen. There's a lot of tingling.
Yeah. Am I being a bit presumptuous by saying it's starting to move a little bit? Things are moving like
Yeah, no,
it
there's
wasn't.
so much openness. Yeah, the sadness passed. I feel
Right.
like the fears passed. There was
Uh-huh.
resistance. There were layers of resistance, like hardness. I sense it like
Yeah.
hardness in the body, and
Mm-hmm.
that passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what it was about. I have no idea, like no
No
freaking
idea.
idea. But
No. And
but-
that's so beautiful, because that's what Vince was saying. We don't need to have any friggin' idea. We just acknowledge the moment. Oh, goodness me. This fear of the fear annihilating us. But when we face it, is there something called freedom that you're feeling that wasn't there before?
That's a big word. Spaciousness for sure.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, people. Nice faces and boxes.
It's
What's
great
that?
to appreciate as well. Really good to appreciate that what your cells were holding was influencing the way you thought. And what you've now done is decoupled that thought, that the nature of thought, from that cellular thing. So your cells have released it. So that spaciousness is your cells no longer contracting in a metaphorical way, you know. So there's a body yes and a body no, and a body yes is an openness, and a body no is a contraction. And your body yes is just really apparent. You're glowing. You really are glowing. Yeah.
I really feel appreciative, everybody. I really do.
That's
really
beautiful.
do.
And you
Funny
know,
little faces and boxes.
yeah, that's right. Exactly. How could that be love, eh? How could that be love? Yeah. And you know, Debbie, just something that we do sometimes say that it takes courage, and well, perhaps that's true, but you know what is more than anything? It's love of truth. What is the truth of this moment? And by just committing to that and just feeling into what is here, the truth of this moment, it just starts to reveal things that have been locked up, as Vince says. And it's not metaphorical only, it's literal. The cells are letting go. Yeah, so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
That's so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
So this is what we're so fearful of, just opening up to what is.
It's so funny, huh? It's a weird thing.
It's a weird thing, such a paradox. The very thing that we want, we're pushing away.
Yeah. All
James,
right, thanks for helping me.
Beautiful,
James,
thank
bring
you.
your camera closer. You're a little pimple away in the distance. Come closer, 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 even closer. That's it. I want to see your face. I just want your face to fill the camera. That's more like it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I want you to tell me about the fear that stops you from falling over the cliff, because you're right on the cliff's edge and you've been on the cliff's edge for a while and you're so good at not falling over. I want to know what's stopping you.
Okay.
Because Debbie can tell you something about it.
Well, Debbie's been amazing. What's stopping me? Well, the glib answer is me, but what I've realized recently is anything I say, do, or think about this is complete bullshit. Yeah. You know, I can make up stories about anything.
But wait a minute. That's true. That's true. But tell me, what is bullshit?
Well, it's just a thought.
Right. So it has no intrinsic meaning, eh? It's just whatever you want to apply to it. Yeah. So it's totally meaningless. So there's nothing you can say that means anything.
Yes.
That sounds pretty awake to me.
See, now this is my problem. Everybody who seems to have gone through the gateless gate, however we're describing it, yeah, has had some sort of shift or experience, or again, whatever the words are, yeah. And I haven't had that.
Well, what if I said you have, but you haven't noticed it?
You could well be right, but if I haven't noticed it, I'm avoiding it very well.
All right.
Because yeah, I mean, I would love you to be right, and if you are right, that's great. But there's still an I here. Yeah.
Okay. I get it, and I kind of hear the I, and I'm a bit stumped as to what we need is somebody, maybe Paul, who your problem is you believe your thoughts, even though you say they're bullshit, you still believe them. And you got a lot of them, and so you're very cerebral. And I'm wondering if maybe Paul's approach to this might suit you well. Paul Simpson, do you want to have a go at James and tell him to stop bullshitting?
Oh.
And just before you start, Paul, James, you're not being honest with yourself. That's all it is.
I don't even know what to say to that. I will be as honest as I can be. I believe I'm being honest, right? But if you can see something, there have been times in my life where people have said stuff to me, yeah, not necessarily to do with enlightenment, and I've thought, oh, they're talking complete crap, yeah? And then I found out at some point later that they were right, yeah? So the things you're saying, Vince, the things you're saying, Alan, the questions Paul's brought up, you could all see something, and you might see that I've gone through the gate, but I'm not having that experience. That's all I can say at the moment. Yeah.
You know, James, what comes to me is that you think there's a way it's supposed to look. That going through the gate is supposed to look a certain way, and having the me drop is supposed to feel a certain way. But when you look at where's the me as a sensation in your body, where is that me? And it usually feels like something, sometimes in your eyes, contraction, something, there's a feeling that you're associating with me in your head.
Yeah, there's two things you brought up for me there. One is that, yes, I started off this journey thinking that when the eye dropped or whatever the shift was, I would be, life would be happy, peaceful, enjoyable. I'd be wiser, whatever. I had all those ideas. Yeah. Where I am now is not saying that it's a specific thing. I have no idea what it will be, but I do expect there to be something, anything.
Right.
Yeah?
Something
And
other than some event, something, some falling away feeling, something where you can say, this is my line of demarcation, rather than just awareness is it. And then the me feels like a sensation in your head or in your chest, right? And that sensation you're associating with a me. See, I'm here because I can feel this feeling. But if you go into that feeling, wherever that me is, that feeling, and you sit with it and look at it and be with it, you'll see that it's only sensation and there's no me there. But you've got to go be with where you're feeling that me in your body.
Oh yeah, that me for me, that's a weird sentence to say, isn't it? It's somewhere in the back of my head. Yeah. Internally in the back of my head. And my head fills with thoughts. And one of those thoughts is the me thought. Yeah. Now, I realize it's just a thought, but it's a persistent little bugger. And it sits there and it thinks there's parts of me that sit there thinking, oh, my me bit is looking at all the other thoughts.
Okay.
Now I've got to the point.
James, why don't you let Paul take you through this instead of talking about it? Let's really, sure. It's time to have a darn good look at this and really be honest.
Go on then.
Take Paul. Paul, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, really. Over to you.
James, you said momentarily, you said a thought thinks. Do you think a thought thinks?
No. If I said that, no, that isn't true.
Well, good, because that's a lot of ground to cover if you think that. The problem with you and others coming to non-duality is you have a fundamental misunderstanding of duality, which is why you go to a monastery somewhere, they start you out in duality. And the fundamental misunderstanding you and others have is that I, which is the subject of sentences, is also the subject of consciousness, and that's just not true. That's where language screws everything up. What I tried with you a few weeks ago or months ago, whatever it was to show you that the I, which is identified by all of these thoughts, I am James, I did this, I'm a good son, I'm a good father, I'm a good brother, I went to school here. All of these thoughts identify the character James. But James is not the subject of consciousness. James is an object in consciousness. That was the whole idea of the blackboard. Look up at the blackboard, put every thought that comes up about James. But what is the subject of consciousness in fundamental duality is the subject is simply that which knows of the character James. Look up at the blackboard. All of the thoughts about James, which is really not even your voice. It's just what you've heard and been taught all of these years. The character James, which is identified by and in thoughts, is an object that arises in all of this being experience. But what you are is simply, it never speaks. It's just the knowing of this. And when you say you're the James, you say you're the subject and the whole world is the object. That's wrong. You are simply the knowing, and the world consists of the character James as well. It's all something else. And so you make the fundamental mistake that everyone else is, that I is that I is something that it isn't. Now, if you admit that thoughts can't think,
Mhm.
then all of those thoughts about James, none of them know anything. You put all the thoughts about James up on the blackboard. None of those thoughts knows anything about any other thought, do they?
No.
And so the character James, which is what is identified in all of those thoughts and is identified as all of those thoughts, that character James cumulatively knows nothing, does it?
Yes, I agree.
All right. Now, none of those thoughts, I am this, I am that, I am James, none of those thoughts knows anything, and they don't know of that which knows of them. Do you agree?
Hold on. Give me a second with that one. None of those thoughts know of what no. Yes,
Okay.
I
But
agree.
what knows of all of those thoughts, that's the one thing that continues, isn't it?
I haven't. That's where you're losing me, in the
Okay.
sense that
There are many
I don't.
thoughts, right?
Go on.
There are many
Yeah.
thoughts. How many knowings are there of the thoughts?
One.
Okay. So what does that tell you? What are you? Are you the thoughts?
No, I'm not the thoughts. No,
Then what are you?
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
But you know that you don't know, don't you?
Yes. Okay. They guess. Yeah.
Well, then, you're the knowing, aren't you?
No. Not.
What are you?
Not.
If there are thoughts that know nothing and
Yeah.
there is only one knowing, are you the many things or are you the one thing? This is not rocket science.
So, you've put to me, am I the many thoughts? Which I'm obviously not. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you've also said there's this one overall thing that is the knowing.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
don't feel like I'm the knowing.
Well, forget about feeling right now.
Okay.
You're all wrapped up in your head. We'll get to feelings. Let's get out of your head first.
Okay.
You have to you until you fundamentally understand duality, non-duality just going to be a big mystery to you. You know, you got to start at the beginning. This is why
Okay.
they start with duality and all of the teachers. The Buddha said all thoughts are objects. All right, that is the most fundamental teaching he ever said. And if you never knew anything else, that's enough. All thoughts. James, the character, if you put all the thoughts that come up to James, thoughts of James, James's thoughts, put them all together, bind it up in a book, and you'll have the book of James. Does that book know anything?
Nope.
But there is the knowing of that book, correct?
Something knows, or something is aware, or whatever the overarching term is. Yeah.
Knowing, you can call it knowing awareness if you want. There's all kinds of
Okay, we'll
names
call it
for
knowing awareness. There's a knowing awareness. Yeah.
of the
That's
character.
all. Yeah, that's all. If that is the case, and I agree with you, that seems to be the case, then that's all anything can ever be.
Is what?
Well, there's nothing else. That's all there is. There's the knowing, like there's the knowing of the the sensations. It conglomerates all these sensations, whatever.
Right. There's
Yeah.
the knowing of sensations.
Yeah. But there's
the
also
knowing of the body. The body is an object.
Yeah.
There's only the knowing. You're right. You already hit it once.
Yeah. Okay. But the where I struggle, or where this problem is, there's the knowing of the thoughts. Yeah.
Okay.
And what seems to be the trick, for want of a better description, is people can go, "Oh, I had those thoughts. That's fine. Let them go. Let them do whatever." Yeah. I can't do that, or I haven't been able to do that.
Answer me this. What am I holding up right here?
Bring it more to the center, and I'll tell you. It's off to one side. That's a pen.
Yeah.
It looks like a pen.
Does this pen
Yep.
know anything?
Nope.
Okay. Does a thought know anything?
No.
What's the difference then? They're both objects. Why is a thought more important?
Oh, I'm not saying it is.
Oh, I think you are.
No, because if you stab me with the pen, I'm going to see the pen, know the pen, feel the pen, think about the pen, and also think about the pain and the thoughts and the worry and the blood. It's all as important. Everything's as important as everything else.
And there would be the knowing of that.
Yeah.
So there'd be the knowing of this pen nonsense, and there would be the knowing of that thought nonsense. What's the difference?
No, I don't think there's any difference, although I wouldn't use the word nonsense.
Well, okay. Whatever. Call it whatever you
James.
like.
James, I have a question for you. May I jump in?
Of course.
You recognize there is the knowing and the experience, all right? The thought and your knowing, okay?
Okay, go
In
on.
duality, correct. Are you
Okay.
talking to James or are
Yes.
you talking to me?
To James.
Okay.
Okay. Now, James, what is the distance between the thought and the knowing of the thought? Is there any distance of it?
No.
No, exactly. The knowing and the experience of the thought are the same thing. There's just the experience, no subject.
Yes.
Now you're going into the non-dual aspect of it. What I'm trying to get
Exactly.
him on is just the dual aspect of it first. Yes, the
Oh, I
knowing
see,
and
I
the
see.
thought, and the knowing and the thought are ultimately the same thing. Knowing and experience are ultimately just two aspects of the same thing. Whether you call
Exactly.
it
There's just
duality,
experience.
whether you call duality with two aspects or whether you call it non-duality with subject and object, they're fundamentally the same thing. It's just all semantics.
Yep.
So James, do you understand the fundamental that I'm pointing to? That's the most important thing here, not whether you get the whole scenario yet. Do you understand that the character James is an object arising in consciousness?
I wouldn't even say it was an object arising in consciousness. There's this knowing, yeah.
Okay.
And part of that knowing is James.
Okay. So the knowing is what envelops, in a sense, or surrounds the character James?
Yeah.
All right. So which is the true subject? The character James, which is enveloped or known, or the knowing of the character James? which is the true subject.
True subject, objects and subjects. Hold on.
We're still in the
subject-
subject-object dichotomy here.
Yeah, the
What is the
subject in that
true-
instance is James.
No. If the character James appears
Hold on, the
and moves,
subject is looking at the object, isn't it? The object is subsumed by the subject. So the
And
knowing must be the subject. Yes.
correct. All right.
Yeah.
That is a fundamental understanding of duality. If you can just stay with that, it would be much easier for any type of realization, whatever you define that to be, to come about. What you have to, with realization or awakening, is just simply the recognition that you are not the thoughts. You may be described, the character may be described by the thoughts, but you are not the thoughts. You are not contained in them. You are not what they are. You are simply the knowing of them. When that disconnect happens, and that's all it is a disconnect, that's all. Once that happens, you really realize the truth.
Yeah, I agree. And the disconnect hasn't happened for me.
Well, just because you were fundamentally misunderstanding the subject-object dichotomy, it may come easier for you now.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Well,
Also, don't expect an event. Don't expect an event. What you'll have is a seeing. If you
Whatever it is, whether it's a seeing, whether it's an event, whether it's a feeling, whether it's an emotion, whether it's a change, doesn't matter what the word is. When that happens, whatever it is or isn't, I'll let you know. But it hasn't happened to me yet.
Oh, when is that clown workshop coming up? That must be getting close, eh?
Sorry, what was that, Vince?
When is that clown workshop coming up?
It was in June. It's in June.
Far away, bugger. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can only say one thing, James, and that is that you still believe some thoughts. You say you recognize them as bullshit, but you don't. You still believe some thoughts. And I'm telling you, that's how you lie to yourself. Every time you have a thought, you're lying to yourself. You're a liar.
Yes.
Every single thought, even that one. Even the one
that's
you agree is a lie.
Yeah. What can I say?
Great, fantastic. That's the best thing you could say. Yeah. And
Vince, may I ask you a question? Vince, I'll ask you a question.
Yeah, go.
I think one of the things you were asking me about was whether sensations have any information in them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people have said, and I've heard, that sensations don't contain any information. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't get away from that one, because if I'm looking at one thing and it's white, and I'm looking at another thing and it's black, yeah, they're two different sensations. If they're different, they must contain.
Stop.
Go on.
Where is the sensation coming from that you're getting when you look at black or white?
Without going into all the rubbish about light going into my eyes, it's just a thought.
Yeah, it's so you're in fact, you recognize that you are responding to the label and what stories you've accumulated over your lifetime about each color and your response to that color, and you're responding to your idea that's all encapsulated in the label of that color, right? I'm looking at white. I'm looking at white, and you have a certain feeling, and you respond to that feeling, yeah. And you look at black, and you have, and it's more complicated than that, because if it's shiny white, it's different to if it's flat white, or if it's mottled white, or in fact, I just did a thing yesterday of about a white car, you know, and I'm looking at a white car, and if I go onto the side where the sun's shining on it, it's a totally different white to if I look at on the other side. In fact, the other side looks more silver than white.
Yep.
And so what I recognize is that there's no such thing as white, that's just a really simplistic label. This called white. Right. But underneath that label is all these feelings I have about it, you know, and it's an accumulation of a history of all sorts of things. Everything that's ever happened to me about white is involved in my response to white.
I'll tell you, Vince, how about this then? Yes, it's all labels, right? Okay. And it's all thoughts. I don't have any issues with that. Yeah. But if I'm walking towards a wall and I have a thought of door and a thought of wall, I can walk through the door. I can't walk through the wall. I mean, so those sensations contain something.
No, it's the first time you saw a door and you saw a wall and you walked into the wall.
Yeah.
You learned something. You added a story. Yes. I won't do that again. That hurt. I'll go through the door next time. Right? Yeah. You added a story to the sensation. It wasn't contained in the sensation. It was added to by the post-it note that you put on it. Don't walk into walls. Get that?
Yes, but completely. They're all labels. They're all stories. It's the way I've learned to function and deal with life. Yeah. Okay. But this is the thing I can't get my head around. If I go back to stripping away all the labels, all the stories about door and wall, take them all away, I'll walk into the wall because I don't know the difference.
Yeah, right.
So that can't be enlightenment or awakening, because then I couldn't function at all.
Okay, wait a minute. You've got a fucked up story here. You think once you're enlightened, you won't be able to tell the difference between a door and a wall?
No, it's not that.
That doesn't work.
So therefore, what the hell's going on then?
Okay. So, all right, we're going to give you an extra world. We're not going to take one away from you. We're going to give you another one.
Okay.
One that you haven't experienced yet because you think your world is the only world, but there's another one. And that's what you'll see the moment that the story prevails that you're awake. You'll start seeing that world. But it won't be all of a sudden, all of it. It'll be all of a sudden, but it'll bleed in more and more and more and more over time. Because, you know, what you think, what you're seeing as a finish point is actually a starting point.
Okay. Leave me with that, Vince. That's got to sink in. Thank you.
James, can I get you something as well?
Please do.
Give you something. Nothing's gonna happen. End of story.
That was good.
I would just kind of wanted to go back like really quick, like right at the beginning, James, whenever Ben asked you, how are you doing, or something, like he sort of asked you a general question to address you, and you said something like, it's all story still. Anything I would say wouldn't be true or wouldn't be. You kind of said
I used the word bullshit.
Yeah,
I think I used the word bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wonder, like, what does it feel like? What does it really feel like to just not know? Like, is that scary? Like, is that a fearful place? Like you just, I don't know. Like, it's a mystery.
It's not fearful, it's frustrating.
And what's that feel like? What's it like just to be frustrated?
The frustration is a pressure in my head, a tension in the body. Yeah, a clenching of the jaw, you know, a tightening of the eyes. And then and then you start adding layers to it. So then it would be a wanting to know, you know, but that's going up away from the sensations.
You can't know. How's that?
Frustrating. So that is the pressure, the tension. Yeah, that's what it is.
Can you just stay there and be in frustrating instead of going to tell us a story about frustrating? And
oh,
like, is that
definitely
okay to just stay there and be frustrated?
It's interesting. See, there's another layer to it, because then you said, is it okay to be there? Right. So that's adding a story. If I've been frustrated for months now with this. Yeah.
James,
but then there's that
James,
Sorry,
stop.
yes.
Stop. Listen to Jana. She's not asking you to tell a story. She's asking you to feel the frustration. Now stop and feel it. Seriously. Sorry, Jana. Don't let James off the hook here.
Okay. I am frustrated.
No, stop it. You're talking about it. Feel it. Tell us the raw sensation. Jana's going to step you through this. She's asked you to feel frustration. What does it feel like? You started. Yep, go there.
Pressure here.
Really feel it. Don't just skip across it. Really feel it.
Pressure here. Something squeezing here. Tension in the shoulders and something in the stomach.
It's interesting.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like there's a disconnect. It's like Alan seems frustrated, or is displaying a little bit of frustration, or whatever you want to call it, Alan, which is, yeah, like me too, right? Like I feel frustrated, right? But like the way you're describing it, James, is just like, eh. It doesn't seem like you're really all that frustrated. I wonder if it's like fear. I don't know. And I
No,
just,
no, hold on. You want me to express the frustration?
Mm-hmm.
Why does everybody talk shit? Why does everybody go, I don't mean you specifically, but why everybody goes around in circles? Everybody tries to describe this. Everybody says, you're enlightened. No, I'm not. That's my frustration.
James, come back to the frustration. Come on. I'm not getting frustrated. I'm trying to have a brick wall slam into you right here. Stop.
Yeah.
Feel the frustration. Tell us about the frustration. Sorry, Jana. I'll
go for it.
Tell us. You're talking about it. It seems big, but on the other hand, you're not describing it. Come on. What is it?
I thought I did. There's a pressure in my head.
Okay, feel it. Really feel it. What happens to that pressure?
Hey, James, can you feel and talk at the same time? I bet you every time you start talking, you stop feeling. That's my story, but I wonder, is it right? Just look at it as you start talking again now. When you start talking, see if you actually stop feeling.
Yes.
Right. So feel. Really feel. Take a few moments. Let's take the silence. Just let the silence be. Feel that frustration. And it's okay to talk, to tell us about what that feels like.
should come out as a howl, I reckon.
Everything feels as though it's just physically squeezing.
Okay, what's that squeezing? Where's the squeezing?
Shoulder blades, jaw, toes,
Okay.
fingers.
Feel right into that squeezing. Feel that squeezing. Really let it have its way with you.
Would you call it a body? No. Certainly not a body. Yes, is it?
Oh,
Don't
it's a
think
squeezing.
Don't think about it. Feel it. Yeah, it's a contraction.
Yeah. So tell us more about it. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it a cramping?
It's warm. It's
Like a straight jacket.
if I took a ball of string and wrapped it around my head and pulled, feels like that.
Okay, feel into that. Feel into that. Don't just feel back into that. Something wrapping around your head and squeezing, like a boa constrictor. Is that it?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
No, feel it. Really feel it.
Oh.
Is it still squeezing or is it releasing? What's happening? The squeezing. Is it becoming more intense?
No, it's releasing.
Okay, let it release. Let it totally release. Just watch it. Don't you try to undo it. Just leave it release itself. What else is happening?
My shoulders are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
My feet's all soft around here.
Uh-huh. Just let that all drop away. Let that softening.
Okay.
What's there now?
Just the after effects. There's a little heat here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little heat here.
Mm-hmm. What else?
I can just feel a tiredness where my muscles were tight in my back. They're just tired now.
Okay, what else is there? Really just watch this so closely. There's a subtle feeling here that perhaps you haven't just caught yet.
I don't know. If I let it all go, there's nothing.
Why don't you let it go?
Yeah, no, there you go.
Okay.
Okay. The frustrations, it'll come back, but it's gone.
Oh, really? Oh, really? It'll come back. How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Okay, yes, you're right. That was a stupid statement. I don't actually know if it will come back.
And there is what Vince is trying to show you. You believe your thoughts more than you believe reality. Right there. Do you see how you're lying to yourself?
Yes.
Stay with that.
Got a question whether that was also a lie.
Yep.
Yes. And that was a lie too. And I have no idea where to go with any of it.
Yeah, well, that's right. There's nowhere to go. Exactly.
No. Just watch that. Just watch that. Clear seeing of that is so important.
Can you see logically, and you're really good at logic, so I'm sure you can you see logically that believing a story that you're not awake is like wearing a pair of blinkers that focuses your attention in a certain way? And that if you believed the story that you are awake, that's a bit like taking the blinkers off and having a much wider perspective. You can see like 180 degrees quite easily, even though only some of it's in focus, but you can see movement and other stuff right out at the periphery. But when you got the blinkers on, and the story that I am not awake is literally a pair of blinkers.
But me choosing between those two stories is another lie.
I'm not talking about having a choice. That's another logical conclusion, and that's another bullshit thing. Yeah. No, I'm just saying, if you can appreciate that story that I just told you about, those two stories, that what it does is it brings it much more closer to the level of possibility, and maybe, if you're ready, even into the level of probability that you will step outside your door and something will get your attention and you will go, right. And it won't even be explainable. It'll just be, and what we're doing here when we talk about all of this stuff is just introducing possibilities. That's all. Possibilities that may or may not have been. I know a lot of the stuff that you've heard today, you already knew. I knew that. I know that you do. You get it all intellectually. You're only missing that one fucking story that you're awake. That's all. Nothing else. And I'm not saying you can choose it, but I am introducing the possibility to you. That's all.
And James, one last thing from me. When you ask a question, when you ask yourself a question, look where you're going for the answer. This will require radical honesty. Are you going to thought for answer, or are you relying on the knowing?
Looking in for the answer. Yeah. And one way to tell is whether your eyes go up or down. If your eyes go up, you're thinking about it. If your eyes go down, you're looking for feeling. That's easy.
And look to the body for the answer rather than the head every time.
If you find yourself looking up, right, just looking down is a way of stopping believing your thoughts for a moment.
Yeah. Currently, it's all thoughts.
Yeah.
And this knowing that's talked about, if it happens, it happens. I don't know how to get
James,
to the knowing.
James, let's try an experiment. Because I know what you know intellectually. I know you've got it intellectually. What I would like you to do is to pretend that you're awake, and I want you to tell Don some stuff about him. Right? Don will tell you where he's at right at the moment, and he, like you, likes to talk. right? Lots of words, lots and lots of words. So, okay, so you have to interrupt him after a few words in order to respond. But I want you to help him get out of his head, because you know about being stuck in your fucking head. You know about it. So you tell Don something. Okay, Don, tell him where you're up to today.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was following. I really enjoyed Paul's step by step, and I was the idea of the subject, the awareness, whatever, awareness being the subject in the mind, whatever you said. Exactly, I followed you, and yet I find the feeling of me or the thought of me is in there, or the whatever the person seems to be, and I still seem to believe my thoughts are about me. So I'm going, what am I doing wrong now? I can watch this. They seem like objects, but I still respond as if it's all about me every day. What do I do next? So James, tell me what I do next.
Good question. Right, I am enlightened. I have passed through the gateless gate. I am awakened, and you're talking rubbish.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you're trying to talk yourself to where you want to be, and that doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. What do I do though? I mean, is there anything to do? I keep looking.
Keep going, James. You're doing great. Keep going. Keep going.
No, Don. So soon as now I have passed through the gate, I used to be in that position. Yeah. And there's naffle you can do, but you will carry on doing what you're doing because there's nothing else you can do. So carry on talking, carry on thinking about it, carry on searching, carry on reading the books, carry on coming to these meetings. And then there will be a time, which could be right this very second, where you realize none of that makes any difference. You're there. You're there, I'm there. Everybody in this room is there now. And there's this cloud sitting in, or was sitting in my head, yeah, that wouldn't let me be where I needed to be. And disperse the cloud, stop bullshitting yourself, and you're there, or you're here.
Yeah, I don't know what that means to some extent, really. Sometimes I think it'll just be something very simple or a very quick recognition of something that I'm looking at right now. And other times, I know I said this before, like this morning, I'm just sitting with gritted teeth, just pushing away distraction for hours at a time, because my story seems so bloody important that I have to keep on pushing them away every 4 or 5 seconds for the whole day. And
as was mine.
Yeah.
As was mine. I've worn my teeth away.
I'm like, oh, I'm pretty chill now. I can almost see it. I think I can almost see it. It looks almost clear to me, I think, maybe. And then other days I'm like, just the whole day long believing stories, and I'm going, that's ridiculous. What am I doing?
Can you see that moment where you thought you were near to it, I'm chilled, I'm getting it, and that moment where you were sitting there gritting your teeth were exactly the same? You were just as close, just as far away at both those moments.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
What that means is that it doesn't matter what you do or where you go or how you feel. You're just this. If, say, for instance, by your left hand was a cup, yeah, and that cup is awakening, yeah, there you go. That was a lucky guess, right? So I am psychic as well, right? That cup is awakening, yeah. You're sitting there, whether you're angry, whether you're upset, whether you're grating your teeth, whether you're screaming, whether you feel you're really close, the cup's still there, not going anywhere, and you're the same distance from it. Whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever you think.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. I mean, when I hear the neo-invited types saying there's nobody doing this, and maybe people here say the same thing, and I still don't know what that means. I still have to do some shit between now and then, because otherwise, what's the point? I have to do some meditation. I have to come along to this meeting. I have to do stuff. It feels like I do.
Yeah, I have read all about Vedanta, however it's pronounced here, read about Buddhism, read all the books in LU, yeah, been on your journey, made absolutely no difference whatsoever.
So what made a difference? Just happened at random. Do you really think it happened at random?
Yeah. One day, I just went, oh, and that was it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I know, it's frustrating as hell, isn't it?
Very slightly, yeah. Maybe Alan wants to bring me into my feeling of frustration now. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bit, yeah, because
I
I
wish-
suppose I'm slightly impatient because I want my life to be a bit fucking better than it is now. But yeah, what can you do?
Ah, now then, interesting. See, now you've gone somewhere else. You said you want your life to be better than it is now. Yeah?
Yeah, that's
This
true.
very second, right here in this group,
Mm.
how do you feel?
This very second. Yeah, I feel okay, apart from that the little piece that I said that it made me feel, yeah, kind of crappy about my life. But mostly just right here, I feel okay.
So what's wrong with your life right here, right now, this second, apart from talking to me?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, it's just some thought could start telling me about something that could be terrible later. But right now, there's nothing wrong.
There you go. Done. Pick
Mm.
up your cup. You're done. Have a drink.
Yep.
Relax. Chilled. We've cracked it.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that
funny. I
was
see that sometimes.
fantastic.
Really, I really
I think
do.
that-
Like, and then I get bamboozled by thoughts again 10 seconds later, not even 10 seconds, fewer than 10.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
And James will do the same thing. You know, that
Yes,
was great.
exactly.
That was like you guys were looking you're doing things in a mirror. You know, James. that was so. You two are so much alike in that way. Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you for putting up with me, Don.
And
that was brilliant. That
James,
was
you know, James. Now this is really serious. I could
Yep.
not have done better. That was great. That was a very awake thing that you did. I loved it all the way. There wasn't a single thing I would criticize about it. I don't know what
You're-
that means, but there you go.
You're just believing the story that you're not. And you believe it wholeheartedly.
Yes.
It's the thought that you're not, that you're believing. But other than that, you are.
May I say something?
Of
I
course.
just want to share what helped me before the shift happened. And I had to watch that again and again and again, because every time frustration came to chase something, I remember that and just, like turning myself back. So just drop any stories, or drop off all stories, like without any memory and without any thought. What can you say about yourself? And that's it. That's all what it is. Just this. You can't put in words. That's
good.
it. And once you realize, shift whatever that happens, you realize exactly the same. This here, you can't put words on it. That's all. There is nothing else. As simple as it is, it seems, like, because it's nothing for a mind, and mind keep chasing something, but it's just like, it's like transparency, nothing. But that's all. There is nothing else.
Yeah. It's like when Vince put Don and I together, because he said we're the same. And I agree with what you're saying. And like, there was a second when I was looking at Don, and there was a couple of times when it sort of all went blank. You could see there was a moment when it was like, oh, and then the thoughts came rushing back in again. So I see exactly what you're saying. And as obviously Vince doesn't get frustrated, but if he did, he'd be frustrated with me, because he probably sees me for a second. I go, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden, everything comes flooding in again.
what I was doing, I was going for a walk, and like, okay, without any thought, without any memories, just put everything aside. What is left here? What can I say about myself? And just, like, stay with that sensation, whatever that is, you can't really describe it, and just stay with that. And, like, every day during the day, just try to get yourself back into it and stay in that, whatever that is, space or whatever. Just do that as often as you can. That's all. That's all.
Pretty cool. I think it helps to. Does it help to to explain? I was saying this to James, I guess, to explain stuff to people, even the tiny amount, okay, that I understand. Sometimes friends of mine would have encouraged me to explain to them, and I found that I had kind of dismissed something I understood on my own, whereas when I was asked to explain it a couple of times, I realized I understood more than I thought. So maybe explaining is a good thing to remind you that you understand something, or give you confidence that you see something clearly that you might doubt yourself internally.
Yeah. On a serious note here, Don, rather than me trying to be aware and pretending, yeah, I think the actual fact of trying to understand and explain genuinely makes it worse.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being serious there, not flippant or anything. Yeah, it's the fact that the more I tried to understand, the more I tried to read about it, the more I tried to find out about it, I was going down blind alleys, or I am going down blind alleys. Yeah. And something about me explaining to other people was me bolstering my ego. Look, I know about this. I can explain this to you. I can tell you about this. And that was just me doing everything wrong.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's
and
interesting.
That's the brilliant part about it. It. Yeah.
Can I say something to Dawn? I mean, it feels like there's something interesting that you're touching into, that there's a thought that you don't know something very well, but something else happens when somebody asks you to explain it, and you find you do. Right. And I think there's an important difference in the felt sense of not explaining to convince ourselves, but actually finding what you already have to offer, like James just let himself do with you, like finding out what he had to offer in that setting. So it's a subtle, I suspect it's a very subtle shift between explaining to convince ourselves versus, oh, I do know how to tell you how that thing worked, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, I think. And I mean, the word explaining, I don't even know. And my friend was saying, can you point at that for me? And I'm like, I can't point to anything. I'm not a teacher. And she was going, no, you can, you understand. So I was trying to just point at something I had seen, and I felt really pretentious, but I was pointing at something I had seen. And but it fades away sometimes and so on. But I mean, sometimes I think, just on this subject for a second, people talk about seeking and trying to get an understanding, and I kind of go, I don't expect to get an understanding of this at all. I don't expect to, I don't think there's anything I don't know what I'm saying. I feel like I just need to overcome delusion or something, that the thing we're going after can't be understood anyway. So why would I be trying to understand it? It doesn't seem to make sense to me to be trying to understand what it means or something. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but it feels like that all the time. Like I'm not seeking an understanding. I don't think I am.
That's good. That's really good, Don. Yeah, look, that puts things in perspective. Brilliant. Thank you.
It is the seeking that's the seeker, because without the seeking, there's no story of anything to find. And when there's nothing to find, you realize you're already it. It's nothing. Nothing's going to happen. Like Seb said, nothing's going to happen. You're just going to realize the very thought that there's something to find is what has created a seeker. But it's all a story.
Very good.
And can I just come back to what you said, Catherine, about this explaining? We can explain philosophically, but when we're asked a question like I think your friend asked you, Don, if we feel in and describe our experience right now in this present moment, then that's the authenticity that people feel.
Yeah, and I was able to, I mean, tiny little bits here and there. The last 6 months, I was able to do that a little bit for someone, but only on certain days, because other days I'd say, well, I can give you the same words I gave you last week, but it'll just be a memory for me now. Whereas last week I was there, I was describing my experience, and that's why you understood what I meant, what I said, because I was pointing at something I was, and then this week I'm confused. So I can use the same words, but you probably won't get what I mean because I don't get it myself today.
Don, that is fantastic insight.
It is. Absolutely.
To be able
Absolutely.
to see that in yourself is absolutely amazing. That's brilliant, brilliant stuff.
Just turn, yeah.
And it's true. It's true. You know, so that's what being authentic is. You know, you're telling it how it is. That's great. And James, just for when you start guiding, a little advice is, you know, you were doing very much to Don what I probably do too much of as well, which is telling stuff, passing on information, right? It's kind of useless, really, but it's hard not to do for me. So the best technique is to come up with a question that when they find the answer, they'll get what it is you're trying to tell them. It's in the, well, it's not even in the answer of the question, but it's in the consideration given, looking for the answer, that it will be discovered what you want them to know. So that's a good technique, you know, and one that's hard to learn, but really, really valuable. Ask questions, don't tell. There you go. I just told you.
And James, actually, this whole thing of needing to understand, you know, and that's, if this is also a repetitive thinking pattern, it would be also wise to take a look on that, because like I said to Vince in some previous meetings, I said to him that I was still believing, okay, I had seen the thing, but I was still believing in some stories about, I said that I was still identifying some feelings and sensations, but I was just making all that story because I couldn't tell myself that I was enlightened, because if I say that I was enlightened, people would think bad of me, that I was getting cocky. But what's the problem with that? Well, I didn't want people to think that I'm cocky because I want to feel special. I want everyone to like me. And so, as you can see, I just pulled a line that unraveled the whole thread. And I dig down the rabbit hole, then I find, okay, no, I just got it. I am enlightened. This was just a problem. And then I just felt the body sensations, which I created the story of being special. I dissolved it all, and it was all set. Everything was done, okay? So if you have any repetitive thought patterns, it would be very wise for you to look into the sensations that come attached with these thought patterns, because even after you become enlightened, there's still work to do. You know, you're still gonna have to dissolve things in your body.
Yes. There, you know, like for instance, there's the questions that come after people supposedly pass through the gateless gate. Yeah. And there's a list of questions that I've seen on the forum that people get asked so that it can be sort of solidified that they've reached that position. And the first question is something about, do you believe the self? I can't remember the exact question. Yeah. And sadly, for me, I still believe there's a self. I haven't been able to break that nut open, whatever it is. Yeah. That's where I'm stuck. And that's what I have to deal with or release or lose or whatever. but I'm still stuck on question number 1. So if I was given those questions to, you know, say, oh, have you passed through the gate? That first question I can't answer in any way that any of you would say, oh yeah, he's passed through the gate. Because I still want to say, no, there's still a self, there's still me, it's still here, it still feels as though it's in control, even though I know it isn't. Yeah, it still feels as though it's thinking when I know the thoughts come up on their own and I can do nothing about it, you know, and all those things. So I do the exercises, the answers, like when Paul asked me the question.
Hang on, James, hang on. So
go on.
Would you say that what you've done is you've converted some delusions into illusions?
Yes, by the definitions you gave me before, yes. Yeah, they're not delusions anymore. I don't believe them, but they are still there. So they are illusions rather than delusions.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, if we look at the definition of an illusion or a way of describing it, we would say it's where what our senses tell us is in conflict with what our head tells us.
Yep.
Would that be accurate?
Yes.
So is it that, do you feel like you are making a choice to believe one over the other?
Oh, okay. Believing, what are my two choices? You say one over the other. You mean believing delusions or illusions, or believing illusions as opposed to knowing that I know they're illusions?
No. Looking at the definition of an illusion, where what we have is our senses telling us one thing and our head telling us something else, our mind.
Yeah.
Right. And that those two are in conflict, and that's what an illusion is, right?
Yes.
Yes. Right. And generally speaking, it would be that our senses are telling us a lie, but our head knows the truth. That would be your experience if you're sitting in the audience of a magician show.
Yeah, or an optical illusion. Yeah, you see one thing, but you know it isn't true.
Yes.
Yep.
So you know, so your head, so in that case, you are automatically, it's not like you're choosing to, but you are automatically believing your head is the accurate one. And there's a bit of, there comes that from that a pleasant feeling about the fact that your senses are lying to you. I mean, when it happens for entertainment, that's what you're looking for, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it's fun. Yeah, it can also make you laugh or go, oh yeah.
Right. So would you say in this case that your senses are telling you that there is a self, even though your head is saying that there is not a self? So it's the other way around in this case, right?
Hold on, let me get it.
You're believing. No, is it the other way around? Which one are you believing?
No,
you're believing
I'm
your head or you're believing your senses? When you
I'm
say there is a
believing the
self.
thoughts.
Sorry?
I'm believing the thoughts that say there's a self.
Okay, you're believing the head. Yes, right. That says
Yeah.
there's self. But your senses say there's not one. You never could find one when you looked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually it's interesting when you're saying self, it doesn't even feel like that's the right word somehow. It's something about when you do these things, like as I say, you sit there and thoughts come up. They just come up. Yeah. And then like there's the thing about turning the hand over. And when am I deciding to do that? And I can't find a point that I'm making that decision. Yeah. It happens. Yeah. And then say, move your hand in a random manner, and it goes all over the place. Who chose that random pattern? I have no idea. It wasn't me. Yeah. So when I do all those exercises, I come to all the answers that, for want of a better description, of the right answers. Yeah. You know, and
answer me this. You're coming to those answers by believing your senses or believing your head, or are the two coming into alignment? Is that what's happening?
Well, that's a good question. I think if they stop being in conflict. So yes, they're coming into alignment. It's like, rather than my thoughts thinking, rather than part of me going, I am definitely making the decision to turn my hand over in 0.3 seconds. Yeah. That would have been the way I thought about it in the past. Yeah. I am making that decision. I am going to do it. Yeah.
Yep.
As where now it's become obvious that things happen and then my thoughts pretend that they were in charge or in control or made it happen.
Right, right.
Yeah?
So where is the disconnect? That was beautiful. Where is the disconnect between that?
Yeah.
And applying it to this concept of a self? Isn't everything that you just said exactly also true for the self?
Yeah.
For the me?
There's no disconnect, but there doesn't seem to be a release, a shift, a change of perspective.
Yes. So why
that's
not?
all.
Why the fuck are you hanging on? What are you afraid of? What's going on?
I see, it's interesting. People, I have to be a little bit cerebral about this, and bear with me just for a second. Yeah. People keep talking about fear. Yeah. Honestly, I genuinely don't feel scared of any of this.
Yes. Okay.
If that's me lying to myself, then I'm lying.
Yeah,
but
no.
It's just not happening.
I go with your intuition with this rather than my speculation for sure.
Yeah.
So what is it if it's not fear that's stopping you from just that tiny, that's not even a millimeter big.
I think it's what Don said. You know, when Don said he can have that moment where there's sort of a clearness.
Yes.
And then 10 seconds later, or not even 10 seconds, he said, it all comes rushing back. Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. So look,
yes.
Look, I can hang in for a bit longer than 10 seconds. I can go for about 15 or 16 seconds now before my thoughts come back in. What's the fucking difference?
Okay.
James,
when my thoughts
yes,
come
Alan.
back in, I just go flick.
Right. James, you're talking about you haven't had a shift. Go back to what you were saying about the hand. You said, if I've got it right, you said there was a time when I thought that I was in control, that I could shift this hand after 3 milliseconds, and you did it. But then you said you saw that was not true.
Yes.
Is that not a realization?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A moment of epiphany.
Right.
A shift.
Yep. A shift.
That's not enough.
No, that's right.
Thank you, Seb.
It'll never be enough.
Guys,
he wants more.
How's this? How's this? I can be enlightened for about 1 second. And then it all comes flooding back again. And maybe I just have to stretch out.
You told us you weren't enlightened, and now you say you're enlightened for 1 second.
There you go. No, I was for a second, but you keep beating me up about it, so I'll have to make that second longer.
Yeah, but Vince is saying he's only a second and a half.
Oh, well, I've got that to aim for.
Thank you. Did you ever thought that actually
James,
you...
Hold on, 3 of you are talking to me at once.
You do get better at that. Let me say that.
Sorry, who was speaking? I didn't listen.
So, James, have you actually thought, everyone thinks, oh, how good non-duality is, how it is good to not have a self. But have you actually considered what is the bad thing into being a self? May it be the case, could it be the case that actually you like being a self? Because every time you go and you get glimpses, but it's like everything just regenerated. Maybe I'm asking you, maybe you haven't actually seen why is it bad, why it is unskillful to put things in terms of self or an I. Have you questioned yourself about that?
I love the concept of actions being skillful and unskillful, but I've never applied that to self. So thank you for that. And that's something I will have to see what happens with.
Okay, so let's also give you one example. Like you're waiting for a bus, but the bus got delayed or it doesn't even arrive. So if you're thinking from the self point of view, you're going to say, oh, the bus was late. I had to be at work at 9 p.m. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I just hate that fucking bus driver, you know, all of these things. This is the self thing. You're going to get angry. It's a bad way to frame things. Now, if you see for the no self perspective, okay, I'm not a being. I am just part of the world, of the system. And all the things that must be in place for the bus to arrive, all the workers of the company that must be in time, everything that must be in time for this to happen. Okay, you know, this is a no self perspective, so to say. So it is wiser to see things in this manner. Maybe you're attached to, maybe you like to build things around the self. So you could actually try to work with these skillful and unskillful things. Then gradually, you're going to not exactly like too much of framing things around a self. The same goes, for example, like a relationship. We always tend to, oh, that person did this and that to me. Oh, I'm so angry, I'm jealous, I'm this. But if you think from a no self perspective, you see that everyone else has their problems. There's a lot of things involved. And then gradually you begin to prefer to see things through this no self or whole world ecosystem view rather than the I, me, who does this or do that. And gradually this is going to weaken and it's going to regenerate less and less until you just shift. You know, I think this happened a little with me also.
Yeah, thank you. It's a perspective I will keep in mind.
That was brilliant, Matthias. I thought that was really good. Can I cut that out and put it on the website?
Sure, of course. I would love that.
Yeah, that was good. That was really worthy of listening again to. That was great. Yeah.
James, can I have another word for you? Just a quick one. Do you believe, have you ever seen a rainbow?
Yes.
Do they exist?
Yes.
Really? Are you sure? Is there something like a rainbow physically in front of you when you are seeing it?
No. But that's not the same thing.
Yeah, but would you still, even though if it doesn't exist as a object, would you still show it to your, I don't know, to your son? Point at it and show it.
I could only show the rainbow to my son if he was with me when it was there.
Yeah.
Or if I had some sort of copy of it.
Yeah.
Like a photograph. Yeah.
Couldn't it be the same with the self? So it does exist and it doesn't exist, depending on perspective. You don't have to make the self disappear, or that it doesn't have to vanish for you to awaken. You just need to figure out, not figure out, notice that it is not that solid and that it doesn't let's say, hold anything together.
Yeah, no, yes, it's not that solid. It just happens to, I see Vince always pulls me up with these things because I'll say something like, yes, myself isn't that solid, and some of the time it's a real pain in my ass, you know. but yeah, I can't disagree with anything anybody says here. I don't want to disagree with anything anybody says here. I just struggle with not believing my own thoughts.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Okay. Stop struggling. Have a rest. Have a rest and believe your thoughts. Try that forever. Really, I'm serious.
Yeah, my
Right.
thought exactly. I was trying to figure out where the hell is the problem? Where is it?
James,
Who has it?
James, let me ask you again. Is it skillful to believe in your thoughts?
Most of the time, no. You've gone on mute, Matthias.
Okay, so begin to work with that framework. Like, is it skillful or unskillful? Gradually, the ego will weaken.
Thank you.
But surely the more you rest within the thought, the gap between the thoughts, then you see the thoughts don't have no solidity to them at all. They don't exist. The more you rest in between the thought.
Oh, sorry, Yvonne, were you addressing that to me?
Oh yes, sorry, James. You're James, aren't
no
you?
problem at all. Yes, no problem at all.
Do you rest? Can you rest in between the thoughts? Do you find the gap in between the thoughts?
Oh, sometimes there is a absence of thoughts. Yes.
Because when one thought finishes, before there's the next thought, there's a gap. And the more you become aware of that, the bigger the gap is to rest in. And also, I'm also thinking, maybe I'm confused, but you can't get rid of the self with the self, can you? I mean, I don't know if that's relevant, but
no, it's very contradictions abound. Yes.
Because when my me dropped, I hadn't planned it. It just like happened. So it's a natural thing. And we can't get rid of it. We can't get rid of the me with the me, or we can't get rid of the self with the self. It just eventually happens. The more we try, the less likely it's to happen, surely. But I do think resting in the thoughts, because I do spend a lot of time resting in between thoughts because I'm so sick of my thoughts. and then I find there's a gap and I think, oh, well, wonderful. I mean, that's a thought, of course, but I can feel the wonders. I can feel the emptiness of it. And then, of course, another thought comes and I think, oh, fuck, another thought. And then I'm caught right, and I'm really taking it. And I think, oh, fuck, I'm thinking again. And so then I let the gap come, and the gap does come. Anyway, I just like to speak. I just wanted to say that, but I just felt very unsure about speaking. But anyway.
No, that was great, Yvonne. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you, Yvonne. It was beautiful. And sorry for having to make you think about saying it. Go back to the gap.
Oh, no, it's the gap's always.
You can say things that don't come out of thinking, you know.
The gap is always there. It's there for us all. It's beautiful. That's calling it something, but it's just is. It hasn't got a name. It's just.
Who knew the London Underground was so enlightened with all those signs saying "mind the gap"?
Loved it. Mind the gap. I used to say, "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Thank you, you woman."
But there's the level of substance when you rest in the gap, and then suppose a thought arises. You just look at the thought, and it's instantly seen that the thought is made up of nothing at all. So it's the same as the gap itself. If you oscillate back and forth between the two.
Yes.
So then any thought that arises, it's made of nothing. So you can just rest regardless.
Anywhere. Regardless.
Anywhere.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
fine
you.
if the thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful blue sky. Where are you? Where are you? The beautiful
California.
sky.
California.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm in freezing cold England.
Yes. Yeah. And really, if you dwell there, allowing thoughts and not pushing them away at all, not clinging, not pushing, and you see
Yes.
that they have no substance then. Yeah, really, what's the difference?
I mean, it's difficult when something is happening in life. Like, for example, this evening, I found my head is full of worry of something that's very real. But and then I know that it's pointless thinking about it because it might never happen. And all there is what's here now. That's all there ever is. Although one has to be a bit practical. But
that sounds very practical.
I don't experience a gap between my thoughts. I hadn't thought of it in those terms.
Oh wow!
For me, the thoughts are like, let's say a bubbling stream on the other side of the paddock. You know, it's like the sound of the refrigerator. If I don't think about it, they don't exist. But if I think about it, they're just, and I don't know what they're saying. They're so far away. I could just hear a mumble of the water as it goes along. But occasionally one will emerge and ask for attention, but usually that's a useful one, but sometimes not. And if it's not, I just flick it back into that stream, and I just don't. I couldn't tell you what they're about. They're just there, but they're not if I don't think about it. Only if I do.
You say they're on the other side of the
paddock. That's a different experience, eh?
You say they're on the other side of the paddock, Vince. There's a huge gap, is there?
There's a long way. Oh yeah.
But the thing
it's
when you look at
also
them,
yes, it was my experience when I was, at first I thought I found the gap. Okay, it was a thought. But when I looked at this gap between the thoughts, there was like a static, white noise. It was fragments of thoughts just got funny.
You mean the gap is a thought?
There are small just beginnings or endings or just
like
Yes.
like a small child making funny noises.
Yes. Ah, how wonderful to be talking to you all about all this. It's very difficult to talk to my family about this.
Oh yeah.
I find it difficult to talk about this with everyone, actually.
Yes.
And the really great thing in talking about it as we do here is that it introduces a reality check for people like James and Don, and well, for everybody. It's a reality check about expectations.
Yes.
What can we expect it'll be like when we get
Yes.
there? And really what we've got to do is dismantle all those bullshit stories that came from watching too many kung fu movies back in the 70s or something.
Yes. I don't get the gap. I don't get the understanding of the kung fu. I'm sorry. So
just part of the what what the Zen state is and all of that stuff that we grew up with.
Oh yes, yes.
Weird expectations. Yeah.
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 I mean, so everything is an expectation because I mean, I expect I expect I'm going to get up next. So if you have no expectations, there's nothing. There's nothing.
There's
I don't
nothing
know
for
where
the
I'm
mind.
No, I think you just hit the nail on the head there, Yvonne.
The nail on the head.
There's just what happening. The body gets up or it doesn't. Like this just shifted. I didn't expect that.
No, no. I mean, that leaves us in like space.
With the unknown and what's happening.
Yeah.
Comfortable unknown and what's happening. No past, no future.
Yeah, nothing.
But
even nothing's too much.
It's what?
Even saying nothing. I mean words. I mean,
right, but words still happen.
But it's nothing and everything.
Yeah. Movement still happens, words still happen, going to job still happens. But I don't know when I get in my car if I'm going to end up at work. And then I'm there.
Oh, right.
Because we don't really know what's going to happen in our next breath. In reality.
No.
And still our minds are prepared, let's say by evolution, for expecting and trying to figure out what's going to happen. And this is why we are more efficient than other species. And we are dominating our planet, right? And that's why we suffer more as well. So we pay the price for that.
Yes.
And now we are starting philosophical questions about is it worth it? Shouldn't we get dumber?
Shouldn't we get what?
Less?
Shouldn't we get what?
Dumber? More stupid?
Oh, dumber, yeah. Well, yes.
In a way, that's all just happening and the mind has a commentary about it.
Yeah, sure.
Like, are we really?
That's an exercise.
Yeah, that's just a big story that the mind has a commentary that's happening for whatever reason it's happening. We don't really know.
Yeah, what could be the reason and for what?
Yeah, what is the
Who
reason?
came up with a reason?
There is no
Yeah.
reason. It's just happening.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is no reason there. None at all.
And there's a
But the mind wants
commentary
it.
about what
Yeah,
what it's doing.
Yeah.
And the result of it. There's a whole commentary about how, you know, we're this and we're that. And I don't know, in the experience, it could seem like that we've divided from nature and that we've tried to dominate and all that and think we're smart. But isn't that just all happening and the mind is telling a story about it?
Sure.
Actually,
the next step is the why. Why is it happening?
There
Also
is
the
no reason.
mind thing.
No,
Yeah.
why? Is there any more? How is it happening? Not why. There's no answer to a why, but what
That's
is
all
the-
mind.
How? Sorry?
That's all mind. It doesn't matter. We'll never know. It's just happening because there's nothing that exists but right now. Right now in this moment is all that actually exists. And that just went past just now.
And it's just gone.
There's no past, there's no future. It's all the mind making a commentary and throwing futures out there, thinking they're actually going to happen. Sometimes it goes that way. Sometimes it doesn't. The expectations.
But I find the intuitions quite interesting because sometimes I know.
Intuition is only in the moment. The intuition
But
doesn't know because a future, because there's no future. Intuition only moves in the now.
But how sometimes do I know what's going to happen through intuition? I mean, you choose like, oh, no choice. Oh, God.
And how many times did you thought something was going to happen and it didn't happen? You know, actually, it's just coincidence.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So many that I thought if something was going to happen, it didn't.
And I think the
But
mind.
we don't remember these times. We don't remember the times that we thought something is going to happen and it didn't happen. We remember only the times that we thought it would happen and it did. And this is, yeah, I knew that it would happen. That's the mind trick.
And the mind knows
Another
patterns,
one.
recognizes patterns. So if I see somebody behaving a certain way and the mind recognizes a certain pattern and expects to have a certain outcome, but then when we go into the unknown, we change the trajectory of that possibility because now I'm in an unknown.
Does it change?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. But let's say I expect a certain person to treat me a certain way because the mind thinks it recognizes a pattern. Then I experience that person actually treating me that certain way as an expectation, but then sometimes they don't. So if I just let go of all that expectation of recognizing patterns and I just stay in the moment, the body will move toward that situation or it'll move away from that situation because I won't be controlling it with my narrative. So intuition only happens in the moment. And I believe it's part of a body yes, body no. It'll just do it. The commentary can be running. But when you realize that commentary has nothing to do with it, the body will do what it does.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all very natural.
Organic.
also, making conclusion is another habit of the mind. Like we all throw around these tips of knowledge, and so in the end, we still think, like you said. So that's another habit that we have. You know, actually, there's no conclusion ever. We just acquire the habit through our education. You know.
Yeah, because when I was talking and I was saying, oh, well, if I don't have expectations, and then you said, well, does it still happen? I'm go, wait, I'm talking bullshit. I don't know. we don't know anything, just staying in the moment, just being in the moment.
Yeah.
That's all that it is.
We don't know.
Something I noticed.
Go, David.
Something I noticed that takes me away from that is books and videos and talks that I have consumed. A name that comes to mind is Bernadette Roberts. If anyone has read of her book, and that some people seem to be encouraging a kind of reaching for exceptional sorts of non-dual experiences. And I find that to be alluring. So that's something I see running in the background here is an appeal. Yeah, it's just alluring to it's a seeking, a desire to know what these people are talking about.
No, to
Yes.
experience it yourself.
Yeah, like the collapse of
Yeah.
self and other, three-dimensional space. One of I'll throw out another name just because I was reading him last night, his website, Kevin Shanelek. And he talks about describing the fetters.
Oh, yes, yeah. Yes.
That is intensely intriguing. So I don't know what your sense of that is, because for a certain character, it's highly appealing.
Yes.
But it's also, like Jenny is pointing to the moment.
Yes.
It's looking beyond. So I wonder what others' thoughts on that are.
Yeah.
I think like Kevin, the fetters, I find alluring as well, because even though, you know, there is no self, there's only this moment, we still, all of us live in the real world. And somebody like myself, I come from I have a lot of trauma in my background, and that even if I don't want it to come up, sometimes it comes up. And I think having tools, like not making it another identity, the fetters, but having those tools where, you know, when I get stuck often in doubt. I was stuck in doubt for a very long time. I think I've moved past that now. And I really think I've gotten through a lot of reactivity that I've had, the fourth and fifth fetters. But, you know, certain situations, I still can feel that contraction in me, and I recognize it now. And it's really awesome to recognize that and not react to it and be curious about it. But
yeah,
I think,
I'm
you know,
thinking though,
it's lovely to be talking about being in the here and now always, but reality just isn't that way.
Well, I think there's a misunderstanding, because in the here and now, trauma shows up.
Mhm.
Everything that's ever happened in the past or we think might happen in the future happens in the here and now.
Right. Mhm.
It happens as a memory, but you know, trauma can happen now, reaction can happen now, sensation can happen now, emotion can happen. When I say living in the now, I don't mean disconnected.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think, no, that's a very good point. I think sometimes I get stuck in disconnection because I lived most of my life disconnected from everything, disassociated. So I think that thank you. Yeah, I think I get stuck there sometimes. Sometimes suffering just happens. It's true. And that's just what's going on in the moment, and you just got to feel it.
And memory can happen in the moment, the memory where the trauma came from. It's all happening right now. So living now in the moment doesn't mean it's, so if stress happens, that's what's happening. So living in the moment is with what's happening.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, that's a really very insightful reminder. It's easy to, the moment now, past trauma, it's easy to put them as like moments in time rather than it's just all here now.
We're talking about the fetters. The thing is, when that me dropped out of me, it was so devastating. It was totally empty. And I did find then I had the thought about the fetters, and it did actually help me realize that as I felt other humans have had this experience before, and it's a very natural thing. So I was glad to have actually read about the fetters, because it made me feel not alone. It made me feel this is natural. I know it was happening in that moment, but I don't know. I'm just saying I did find the fetters quite helpful. It steadied me a bit.
But that's still the moment. That's still in this moment. What's arising is interest in the fetters.
Yes, yes, and it's all moment by moment.
Yeah.
What about
as I walked down the stairs and towards the television, because I wanted to come more normal. This had gone too far, and I went each step. It was in the moment, and I thought, oh, the fetters, that moment, and then another step was another. Yeah, moment by moment.
Being in the moment doesn't mean you're not being with things. You're being with everything.
Everything.
What about the fact that, like, the later fetters, they're addressing very profound perceptual shifts, and I find that hard to, like I said, it's alluring, and it gives something to seek after. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of sense to make of that, because
Seeking is an energy. Seeking is an energy in the body. So when the seeker comes, feel that sensation in your body, because you can still be curious about fetters, and you can witness the information and you can process the information, but the seeker comes from an energy in the body.
Yeah, good yawn.
But if I had never heard those things, there would be no seeking for them.
No.
So instead of stop seeking, be with the sensation you're calling a seeker.
But it's also just pure curiosity and a wish to discover.
That's a separate from the seeker. The seeker feels the seeker's in your body, separate from curiosity. Curiosity is different, right? The seeker that longs, the seeker that wants, it's a sensation in your body that you're calling a seeker.
Yeah.
And it feels different.
What about the curiosity and the fact of people popularizing those kinds of perceptual shifts?
It's triggering your seeker, which is a sensation in your body, because you don't know true curiosity until you handle the seeker. So when you say they're doing this and they're making me want, that's your seeker getting frustrated. So go in and feel the sensation of your seeker, what you've been calling seeker, that you project frustration and desire on top of. The seeker is an energy in your body.
That's very good, useful to know.
I think one of the problems with the fetters, and David, you illustrated it, is that they're more and more profound levels of awakening, or more and more profound phenomena. It's actually the opposite. They are more and more subtle levels of disappearance of the self. What happens with the fetters is the 10th fetter is actually the letting go of what happened at probably the very youngest age, maybe 2 or 3 years old, when just the first inkling of separation occurred. That's the most subtle, because it's the simplest. And with non-duality, it hides in simplicity. So what you're calling higher fetters and more difficult is because they hide in simplicity even more. It's right there. But the most complex, the first fetter is the most complex phenomenon if you're going to, because you've got all this stuff built up into this imaginary self that you don't have when you're 2 or 3 years old. That's a very, very simplistic, simple self structure. So what you're doing as you go through the fetters, it's more and more levels of subtle disappearance. And really thinking of the fetters as a graduated ladder is one way. The other way to think of it is that the fetters are a broad range of beliefs stretched out on the horizon, with the central core of the self, fetter one, being in the center of the horizon. And when that, which you could call the main core belief, falls away, that enables what you would call lesser beliefs that are attached to that core belief to fall away from the side. And as you go through the fetters, the gap widens of more and more subtle beliefs falling away, so that in the end, there is nothing but a clear horizon. It's probably an easier way to think about it and a better conceptual visualization of it. Good, because when you say things are more and more difficult, and I tell you, no, they're more and more simple, because all this stuff hides in simplicity. That's what most people say when they wake up from the illusion. The first thing is, oh God, it's so simple. How could the first thing I ever said after when I woke up was, how could I not see this? It's right here. It's been here all along. It's the simplicity of it. If we want to make things complicated, and that's how it hides. So think of it more in terms of subtlety as you go up rather than complexity.
Angelo likes to say that the unbinding goes on forever.
Probably.
I think that's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
That it's the unbinding of layers of identity.
Yes. Because you had no identity at first. You identity, you weren't born with identity. It was created. And when you keep that in mind, it helps.
Yes.
David, you were talking about the fetters and them being alluring to you, and you'd read about them or seen them or heard about them. And I got a bit lost in the conversation because it got a bit technical for me, but I thought you were trying to tell us something about yourself, whether you felt you were lost in desire, or did I miss that? Or was that I think you were trying to say something quite profound about the point you're at.
No, not,
no.
Just that just that it's appealing. It has an appeal. It's on the horizon of it's something on the landscape here. It grabs my attention quite a bit. So,
but isn't that the point about you rather than the fetters? Something has attracted your attention, or is appealing to you. And doesn't that say something about where you are rather than whether it was the fetters? Because if it wasn't the fetters, it might be something else.
yeah, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear your question, David, about the difference between seeking and curiosity, and it's a critical one, I think. If we judge one better than the other, which we do, of course. The answer to the difference between them is found in your feelings about them, in your sensations when you consider that a lure. Is there a pulling? What is the sensation? How would you describe the sensation that you're calling a lure? Does it emanate from your chest, and is it a pulling in kind of thing?
Yeah, it probably does come down to a sense that what's here is not good enough. That
right. Okay. Yep. So yeah, you would say, okay, oh, that's seeking. Well, let's judge it as seeking. Yeah. Yeah. So I would see curiosity, and I often conflate curiosity with discovery. So this is a more of a passive thing where things come to you rather than you pulling them in.
Yeah.
So if you're pulling them in, then you're seeking. Okay. And obviously that's not wrong. What that is telling you something. Yeah.
I can see
Vince and David, wouldn't it be that seeking is desire and curiosity is not?
Yes, that's true.
Coming back
Yeah.
to Buddhism.
Yeah. And while Vince was talking, I can see that the only, like I said, that it comes to a sense that what's here is not enough. And I realize the only doorway in is from what's right here. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you got it. That's close. Yeah. That's a foot through the doorway. Yeah. Yeah, I just, for if it's of any value, when I woke up and I started guiding fairly straight away. And I felt that guiding was very much a deepening for me of my seeing, more and more subtle levels and so on. But it was very much a discovery and a curiosity. There was no seeking at all. And then about 11 years later, I came across the fetters and seeking started again. Yes. All right. I'm being told I've got to wind up soon. Yeah, so when I discovered the fetters, the seeking started again for a moment, but it faded pretty quickly back into discovery and curiosity because it was seen to happen. But yes, that when I first discovered them, I thought to myself, oh, okay, well, obviously I do still get triggered, so there is still work to be done. And so, I got sucked into that identity, that seeking identity for a short time. Yeah. But it didn't last very long. It was pretty hollow. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So look, actually we're going on for nearly 3 hours, 2 3/4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. Been wonderful to
Yeah.
be with you all.
It's great. Yeah.
Thank you.
I always enjoy it. It's great.
Good stuff. Okay. All right. Well, I'll hopefully see you all again, and we'll keep going and keep on fixing the world or whatever it is we're doing. Yeah.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Vince.
Thank you, Ellen.